Are you tired of watching shows that only give you general social media theory and expect you to figure out how to apply it to your own industry? Join us for this week's episode of Social Chatter, the industry's longest running social media marketing news talk show. Not only will you learn the latest breaking news, but you'll also gain practical advice on how to apply it. Now here's your host, Christian Karasiewicz.
Welcome everyone to Social Chatter, your weekly social media marketing news talk show. This is episode 210 with myself, Phil Gerbyshak, and guest Jim Fuhs. And Jim might be very familiar because if you tuned in last week, episode 209 at socialchefs.com/SC209, you will see Jim there because Jim was actually co-hosting last week for Phil. So really excited to have both of them back on. We've got the full team here. Phil, how are you doing this week?
Holy cow, Christian. What a week, man. I'm doing great. A million miles an hour, though. It's bananas here. I can't believe that summer is technically over here in the United States, but thankfully I live in Florida where it's endless summer, so I'm pretty happy.
Fantastic. So I know we've got, a hard stop today with the show, so it's a lot we want to talk about, but do me a favor. Tell viewers about our guest this week. It's Jim Fuhs.
Yeah, absolutely. So first, super grateful to Jim for stepping into my place last week. Last week I was out on the road speaking. It was a lot of fun. Well, Jim is freaking brilliant. Love talking to Jim. He's always full of energy, full of insight, great social media guy. He's been in the military, which I love him for. I always love my pals that have served in the military. Super important. It's Fusion Marketing, Fuhs. Right? That's how you spell Jim. So you can find him all over the place. Fuhsion Marketing. Really, really good guy in the greater Atlanta area. Always enjoy having him on. He's always got insight, always got energy, and always brings everything he's got to the show. And there he is, Mr. Fuhs. What's up, brother?
Well, good morning, and I am thrilled to be here. Phil, it was great seeing what you were doing when you were traveling last week. I thought that was very exciting. Love the video where you had that surprise from your friend. That was so cool.
Yeah.
And Christian, great to see you. I'm humbled that you guys. This is the third time I think I've been on the show now.
Does that make you 3 times a lady, Jim? I'm just wondering.
3 times a lady, and I love you.
That's it. See, I knew it. I knew I was going to get that. I love you, man. There we go.
Yeah,
having you on. You always bring the knowledge, and that's why we bring you back because we like having the best guest on the show, the people that can talk about the topic, but also say, hey, you know what? How can this happen? How can this help a business? How can it help somebody improve a process? So I'm excited to talk about this week's topics. Are you guys ready to get going?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Let's hit it.
Where do you want to start? We want to start with a little LinkedIn, maybe a little one of your favorites.
Wow. So many places. But yeah, absolutely. I'd love to start on LinkedIn because this is a big deal potentially for all of us here, announcing skill assessments to help showcase your skills. So this is fascinating to me that LinkedIn is finally going to do something with skills. This also tells me that this is going to build on search because they played a little bit before with skills and they said, look for people that are highly skilled in this. But now they're actually going to help you validate that. So I think this is kind of phase 2 in their skills, or phase 3 really, because the first skills was roll it out, force people to endorse skills. Then phase 2 was add it to search, and this is phase 3, which is skills assessment. So Jim says he's really skilled in welding. So Jim takes a welding class on LinkedIn, and eventually this is going to be a revenue generator because this is going to drive to, guess what? LinkedIn Learning.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really interesting stuff. But I'm just curious, Jim, would you hire someone who has the skill based on a class that they took, or would you rather hire someone based on someone that you trust who says that they're skilled in that?
I mean, I'm going to have to go with the trust. I mean, I still think that in the big game of life, right? We like to work with people that we know, like, and trust. And I think that sometimes that's where you see folks struggle to say, well, I've got a degree in this and I've done this and I've done that, but it's like, but nobody's ever really seen them in action. And, you always hear about how, it's not what you know, it's who you know. So I think it's a good way to maybe help people get that opportunity, get their foot in the door, but I'm still going to go with the trust factor.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think, to that point, right, the reason you're on the show is because we trust you. We know that you're going to be good for our audience. We know that you're intelligent. We know that you have salient points, and that's important. But showing on your profile that you're really good at Microsoft Excel really is not going to sway me into thinking whether or not you're a good guest. So I think it might be okay for lower level, lower skill. I mean, if Excel and Word and PowerPoint are the things, well, okay, that's great. How good are you at those? But for those, higher level skills, I looked at what skills are available, because of course, right, I want to prove that I'm really good. There's no strategy skill, right, as far as a test for it. There's no sales skill. There's no training skill. So it seems to me like this is more for entry level. I think the goal here is to go head to head with Indeed and these job sites that have this. I don't know, Christian, what are you thinking?
I think I kind of look at it like from two perspectives here. So I think one, it is very useful because a lot of times people can easily say, hey, endorse me for this skill. And that's the problem that LinkedIn had at the beginning. Everybody would, in any sort of LinkedIn teaching that you were like learning about, they would tell you, hey, ask people to give you reviews about your skills. Hey, now I've got this like huge number of people that say I'm really good at this. And usually it stops there. So it does help from the search perspective, like you said, but I also think that there needs to be a test that people can take. And you're right. They can't take a test in strategy because maybe they are good at one particular strategy, but a test, is going to cover a wide gamut. It's not going to be like, oh, well, hey, you took a strategy test. Oh man, you're like certified in strategy. Like that doesn't really exist. So
yeah. And this concerns me a lot as far as what recruiters, how they're going to use this. Right. Mm-hmm. And by concern, I don't mean in a bad way, but I mean, it concerns like, I'm not quite sure because again, as we see higher level skills, which is really what LinkedIn is trying to do. I mean, they're not struggling to get people that can't find work on the platform. I think they're actually struggling to find higher level people. I mean, you noticed a couple of weeks ago, they rolled out the whole say if you're on my team thing to build org charts that then they can sell as part of Sales Navigator. That actually, this seems like they're going after the lower level people, the people that are, $8 to $12 an hour. And I don't get this. Like I understand the philosophy. I just don't understand in execution how this actually drives revenue, because I don't see these people buying premium subscriptions, right? If I'm skilled at Microsoft Excel, I've been using Excel myself for 15 years.
Right.
If I put Excel on my profile as an executive, they'd be like, dude, really? Like you're an Excel wizard? Hey, can you use Word and make colors bold too? I mean, come on, dude. Right? This is just ridiculous. So again, I don't know how this plays in the overall LinkedIn strategy, but if you're a business that hires lower level employees, that you need to make sure that actually they really are good at Excel and they can't just spell Microsoft, then perhaps this is a good thing for you.
Is this along the lines of our society's desire for participation trophies?
That's interesting. Maybe it is, but I don't think so though. I mean, I really think this is meant to help the employer, right? Because again, employees don't pay for the platform. I want to be we always have to remember that, right? Let's look at the monetization strategy here. Is the goal here to help recruiters better vet? I think so, because we know recruiting is their number one platform. Is it to help employers vet employees and maybe stack rank them and maybe push them to LinkedIn Learning? That's a second revenue stream. I don't know that they're really pushing here. I don't know. Christian, what did I miss, man? What am I missing here? Because I'm kind of myopic on this.
I don't think you're really missing too much. I mean, I think that this is a big drive to LinkedIn Learning. The other part that I think this also compares to is Facebook Blueprint for anybody who wants to learn about Facebook ads or like the Facebook platform overall. Facebook has their Blueprint platform. So you don't need, for instance, to go buy people's Facebook ads courses. Those are a waste of money for the most part. You can go to Facebook platform. They have certification tests that people can take. Their annual certifications, I think they're about $150 a test. And, and they will test you beyond just like, oh, hey, I know how to get to the ads manager and things like that. So definitely that's where I kind of think this is going to go, from perspective. If I'm a business, for example, and I want to get up on these things, like I said, don't waste your money buying other people's courses a lot of times, because it's a lot of times it's just regurgitated content directly out of, a document that say Facebook provides. But that's what I think is going to happen with this.
And I think one other point too, that I hear of this a lot. I help a friend of mine, Jeff Sheehan. He does these job things for these folks that are well, I'll say a lot of them are, middle-aged folks that don't like technology, and he's teaching them about LinkedIn. But I think the issue that a lot of people have, it still goes back to networking. And I almost feel like sometimes a lot of these companies are looking for the perfect candidate,
right,
as opposed to taking the time to actually get to know people and say, you know what, we're going to, it's like we've forgotten that none of us were born like, Phil was talking about, I wasn't born like a strategic genius. And sometimes I need a mentor to get me there.
Yeah.
Well, I know Napoleon says he was, but, ultimately you got to train people the way you want them to do the job for your company. And I feel like that's what's missing sometimes. And so folks have a background, they showed they can learn, but the companies aren't willing to make the investment. They want that person to start tomorrow and be the expert.
Great point.
Those are good points, right? Good points. But remember, companies can pay for LinkedIn Learning. So if you have an intermediate skill and we need you to get advanced, right, they can push you there, which I think also could help.
Very true.
This also could compete, if you kind of think about it, this could compete with like the UMEs, kind of going back to what I just said a minute ago about not buying other people's courses. A lot of times, if you go to like a Udemy, for example, anybody can go on there and start to create a course, and you don't really know, well, what kind of skills does that person have? Because a lot of times, it's regurgitated content. The person doesn't really give you much on their background. Hey, they got a whole bunch of people reviewing their course because maybe they paid $5 for it or something to that effect. That doesn't hold enough water, in my opinion, compared to if I'm on LinkedIn, having somebody that has taken a skills assessment that has a bit of, they've kind of done something that, maybe the program is just not going to let everyone in. And that's what I think I really like about that. So,
good points. Really, really good points.
So anything else we want to talk about on LinkedIn skill assessments, by the way?
I don't think so. I think we pretty much killed that one. I'd say love to see how this goes. Love to see if it gets expanded. Right now as it is, it's probably too new to tell whether or not how we might use this. And if you're highly skilled, social media, I would still look for recommendations, and I'd still look for maybe a Hootsuite or some platform agnostic testing rather than a LinkedIn skill.
Right. So, okay, we've talked about LinkedIn for the week. Where do we want to go next?
Ooh, do you want to talk about Twitter lists or you want to talk about Pinterest shopping, Jim?
Let's go with Twitter lists.
Twitter lists. Awesome.
What do we got going on here? Please do tell viewers.
Yeah, so now only on iOS, you can pin up to 5 lists. So if you think about that, 5 different ways that you can slice and dice your Twitter feed, rearrange them, and access them from home, making it look almost like a TweetDeck or a Hootsuite.
Ah, yes. You must have been listening to my comments earlier, Phil.
Right?
Yes.
Right? Yeah, I think this is smart. I think this makes a lot of sense. Now, Christian, you're probably more active on Twitter than I am. How are you going to use this for your business? How are you going to use only five lists for your Twitter?
Okay, so I think the first thing is the fact that you only have 5 lists. So what I would say here is you want to make sure you pick the best list, the ones that you're going to use the most, the ones that are, maybe they're not going to have like hundreds of people on it. For example, you want something that's quick and easy to get to. Okay. So you want to make sure you pick the right ones. You don't need every single list. So be very specific. And then I see the value in this and the fact that I don't have to go to somebody's profile. I don't have to tap on the list option to get to those lists. This is going to be a few less taps and swipes and whatnot. That's where I see the value of this as a business. I can use this for example, if there's certain clients I follow, certain companies, I can put them into, say, a competitor list, which should be a private list, and I can see that information readily at my fingertips by being able to swipe.
Awesome, Jim. What are you going to do with this?
I'm exactly along the lines of what Christian's talking about. I use Twitter, quite a bit. And in fact, what I like about it, let's say for an example, I set up a speaker list or people I want to meet at a conference list. Now I've got that front and center during that time frame, and then I can rearrange my my top 5 once I've left that conference. But it keeps those lists top of mind and much easier. And I much rather prefer to engage by list than the main feed, because when you've got thousands of people you're following. You're just, the main feed is just like a traffic
cesspool.
Yeah, that too. And so if I can keep the feed to, the positive people that I like to interact with on Twitter, that's where I think this is very powerful. Not to mention, I think I know, Christian, I'm pretty sure you have lists, and Phil, you may have a couple as well. I'm still surprised how many people have no list at all.
Well, it's buried though. That's the problem. Lists are buried on Twitter. So if I'm on a Twitter profile, for example, I have to go to your account. I now have to click on the profile itself. I have to click on the dot option just to get there. They've changed the navigation, so it's on the sidebar for the most part. So when you get there, well, am I in the right account? So it's very hard for people to use them. If I'm on mobile, it's a lot more cumbersome as well. So that's where I see like the problem. And I think a lot of people honestly don't really know how to curate a good Twitter list.
I think that's an awesome point, Christian, right? So you guys both came up with different ways to use a list. There's no standard. So if we think about it, right, let's be strategic, right? Let's give you 5 lists you can have. So one is your competitors, right? And this should probably be a private list.
Yes.
Be your top 10, top 20, top 50 competitors. Number 1.
Competitors, Phil, by the way. So
what's that?
When you add competitors, you can make a private list and they will not get notified that they are on that list. So keep that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yep, that's exactly right. Right. So private list for competitors. Second is for your customers, existing customers.
Okay.
Really important, right? Add them in there. Also private list, right? You don't want somebody sniping your whole list of customers. That would be idiotic. We don't have that. Then prospect list. Okay. Prospect list would be another one. Again, keep that private. Then here we go. Thought leaders, right? People who I want thought leaders. And then pick a 5th list, random, right? Could be location, right? It could be someone that, it could be a positivity list. Jim, you mentioned this, right? The positive people in the world, whatever it is. But those are 5 lists. And I think it's actually smart that they offer some constraint. This is one of the smartest things. So Jack Dorsey, if you're listening, good job. Give you a high five. I usually bag on you, right? So this is the smartest thing they've done in a while. The fact that they've constrained it, not just given us lists, because endless scrolling doesn't help anybody.
No.
5 lists, though, if you use those 5 lists, that's going to give you some opportunity there to really possibly go deeper and interact. And then you still have the whole list, which I love that it didn't do away with the home feed, because that's important, right? I still might want to see organically what shows up, but it does give me 5 different slices of my networks. And I love that. I think that's super powerful.
And this is something that I found interesting because, unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, I'm a multiple device person. And the 5 lists that I have that I can pin on my iPad are different than the 5 lists on my phone. So it doesn't automatically sync.
That's interesting. That's really interesting, right? That gives us a device list instead of an account list, which is that's super fascinating, right? Because I think a lot of people are multiple devices, and I think that makes sense, right? So in the kitchen, I might have my Food Network list, I might have my chef's list, right? I might have this because I've got my iPad there, but then I go, I'm on the road, and as I'm traveling, right, I might have all the people that are attending a conference list.
Right.
Stuff like that. So I think that's genius. Yeah, I really like that.
I got to say, though, I want to go back to one thing that Jem mentioned, and I was very impressed with this, was the mention of using a list that you're going to use for a conference. So being able to have that list kind of predefined before you go, move it to the top while you're at the conference, and then when you leave, you change it to something else. I think that is brilliant. So that is a fantastic suggestion on your part.
Thank you.
Yeah, really strong. Absolutely. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. So cool. So that's 2 topics, right? Holy crap. We got so much more that we're going to cover today. But before we do here, I just want to let you know, we had 10 or 12 things that we could have covered today. Instead of covering them all and spending 3 hours on, instead, we're going to send them out the best of the best in an email. socialchefs.com/daily. You sign up, you get a daily email from Christian. It's really good stuff. I usually open it probably 4 days a week to check it out, keep up with stuff, see what's shaking. It's really good. Again, it's at socialchefs.com/daily. That'll also help you understand, what do we do here? What do we cover? What do we not cover? And it gives you the blog post recap as well. Again, that's socialchefs.com/daily for all your great social media news, right? So here we go. That was a throwback to UHF, Weird Al, for anybody watching. So,
okay, LinkedIn, Twitter.
Yep.
Where are we going? I think we've done everything we need to cover on Twitter list, except for the one thing I want to see, and that is I want to see TweetDeck finally make an introduction here from Twitter, because they've got this great platform. It's available for free. It gets rid of most third-party tools at that point, and yet it's somehow not integrated with Twitter. It fits perfectly with this list option, like you said. So that's the last thing I want to see on Twitter list for now.
Okay, so TweetDeck integration. Jack Dorsey, listen up, buddy. You need to fix that. So if you're listening to this, send at Jack a message. Send him a link to the replay, to socialchefs.com/daily, so he can sign up and he can get this, because I think it's important. I'm with you, Christian. I think that's good. But let's talk about Pinterest.
Okay,
let's talk about Pinterest, because this is interesting. Shoppable pins to visual searches for fashion and home products, which, Pinterest lens camera. Is this a Snapchat clone? Have we stolen Google Glass? Or is it ever going to be as cool as my glasses? That's the question I want.
That'll never be. It'll never be as cool as your glasses, Phil. I'm sorry.
Speaking of glasses, by the way, did you guys see the new Amazon frames that just came out today?
Yep, and Amazon Ring. Yeah, Jeremiah Oyang talked about that yesterday on Twitter. Very interesting stuff. Very interesting. But yeah, so that'll eventually you'll be able to shop from your Ring. But for now, we're going to shop from the thing. That's the Pinterest thing. Pinterest bringing shoppable pins to visual searches. So, Jim, are you going to shop for your underwear for your wife on here, or what are you going to do?
Well, I might have to start, but I think it's fascinating, because it just kind of goes sometimes, to me, it's showing the influence of the Facebook and Instagram shop and keeping people inside of the ecosystem to buy things. So I think Pinterest felt like they had to remain relevant in some aspects. I mean, they're still, in a sense, one of the top search platforms, and a lot of people don't realize the power of that. But when you look at their numbers of users, and I would say, aside from Jeff C., majority of them are female. I don't, unfortunately, well, I guess it depends. Look, I don't spend a lot of time on Pinterest, but my wife loves Pinterest. We had, Pinterest boards for our wedding and that sort of thing. But I think the shoppable pins is a smart move on their part.
Awesome. Me too. Christian, are you a Pinterest guy?
I spend some time on there, not enough, but I think that Pinterest is definitely a platform that people should be checking out. I think that, and I've said this time and time again, Pinterest is like this dark horse. Everybody's always talking Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and YouTube and Snapchat, but Pinterest doesn't seem to really get a lot of conversation. And I think that this is a really good move by them. I mean, they're doing some really smart things from the perspective of like making it easy to shop. And then their site is already extremely visual. It was visual to begin with. And that kind of in a way gave them a leg up, I think, on a lot of people. So I like the fact that they're rolling this out as well, making shoppable pins for visual search for fashion and home products, things that people are going to use it for. That to me is, I think, the key thing.
Totally agree. My beach gear list for my new beach house next year. You guys are all invited sometime next year. Come down to Florida and hang out. I cannot wait, because that is why I'm actually making this board, right? I want to make a shopping list. That's really what it is. I want my beach is my happy place, or the beach is my happy place, right? I want a sign that says, I miss my beaches. And I also would love to see, what I'd love to see is for those that are not shoppable, right? Because sometimes they don't link back to a place. What I'd love to see is for creators, for craft makers to be able to go there and maybe use that as inspiration to actually make something, and then make me an offer that says, hey, dude, did you know that we just made this just for you?
That's actually a brilliant idea as well. Man, lots of sparks find it. This is great.
Yeah. So I see a lot of opportunity here. I mean, I don't know if you know, but Disney, that one of the things that they've finally started to do is they start listening to what their customers are taking pictures of and what they're seeing. So they actually have almost flash merchandise now, which they never had before. So I see Pinterest going to be the same way, which makes, I think it just makes it so much more relevant, so much more valuable. And for those that are thinking of not setting up e-commerce anymore, you're going to have to get there, because this is shoppable, baby. If you're a wine store, I want to go back to, I want to be able to not only buy it, but I want to get it delivered, right? I'm going to use Drizzly to get my wine. Mm-hmm. That's pretty crazy.
That sounds good.
And also keep in mind, like all of the content that's on your website, on your blog, you want to make sure that it is friendly for Pinterest.
That's right. Yep. So now the optimization for Pinterest, right? I would bet Shopify comes with something big behind this to come behind. I don't know, Jim, I cut you off. What are you thinking?
No, I just, when you talked about shopping for wine and having it delivered, I was like, oh, that sounds good. We
Yeah,
drink too much
especially here
wine
at 8 in the morning, right?
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
That's it.
I think
right?
where Christian is maybe, but he can't tell us.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
5, and it's 5 a.m. somewhere too on the West Coast. So for those listening in, if you're drinking wine at 5 a.m., hey, cheers to you, baby. That's all you.
Yeah, there's some really good stuff. I mean, I will say, I mean, Pinterest is just, they're doing some great things. And from a business perspective, make sure your content is Pinterest friendly. And what I mean by that is go behind the scenes, for example, and you could define what images go to your Pinterest account that people can pin. So for example, let's talk fashion real quick. Somebody has, say, t-shirts, or they have a certain look, they have their design, and then they have, like, you know, maybe it goes with a hat or some shorts or something. You know, what they could do is they have one image that has all their branding and whatnot on it that goes over to Pinterest when people pin from their site. They're using like maybe a tool such as like a social warfare plugin, things like that. And you have to absolutely do that, because that way you help direct your viewers or your audience what you want them to see when they're helping share your content as well. So keep that in mind, like absolutely a must. And it's really not that much extra time either. So
no, or energy, right? And this is energy well spent. We're not optimizing in hopes like somebody's actually going to Google search us. Let me be really clear. And this is really an important distinction here. We're not optimizing in hope. We're optimizing because people can shop it. And if people can shop it, they can give you money. I like money way more than I like being found. Right? I mean, come on, right? I mean, that's the thing.
Truth.
And we always have to remember that. I mean, it seems so obvious, but we optimize and optimize and optimize, and then we forget. Like, I can tell you, some people have these 74-click shopping carts. They're abandoned. Make it easy for people to give you money.
That's a great point, Phil. And I think, you know, even a lot of times it goes back to, like you said, like, great, what you're being found, but what do you want me to do?
Yeah, right. So yeah, don't optimize your homepage. Optimize each page for a single solution. Right? Christian and I talk about this all the time, right? Think first about the problem, the people that you serve, the problem that they have, then the products, not the other way around. And we miss that so much because we optimize, and then we're like, what the hell? What do I do now? So yeah, really important.
And, you know, I kind of want to add just 2 quick things here. So one thing we've started adding to our daily newsletter is a social media tip each week. You know, and I bring this up because you talked about, like, hey, you want to get people directly, like if you're in a shopping cart, streamline it, make it easy. So I'm going to drop a link to social warfare. But the other thing we also talked about is make it easier for people to get to things. And so, for example, one way that you can do that is to use a tool such as a Pretty Links. So that is basically a tool for me to be able to create a branded URL that redirects to something. And it could go to your website. It could go, for example, to a product on your website. It could take them to a social media channel. It could take them anywhere you want them to go, but it's easy for them to remember. So for example, every show we do, socialchefs.com/SC209. That's last week's show. This week, SC2010. So we keep it simple. We use that tool. And then what that tool does is it makes it easy for us to also then know where people are making their most clicks. So we can go behind the scenes, look at the analytics and see, okay, hey, this item drove X amount of traffic. This one, for example, on our email drove another. So keep that in mind. But that is another tool to use to help simplify things.
Awesome. Awesome. Really, really good stuff, gang. So much here. Again, think about what's the action you want people to take, make it easy for them to take it. And remember, your goal is to make money, not to be pretty or cute. So use this as an opportunity to get some money. People can buy from you. This is super awesome. So take the time with that. So, and with that, you want to talk about money, baby. SMS marketing. Jim Fuhs, man, you're an SMS marketer. You love this, right? This is good stuff, man. With ManyChat. ManyChat finally launching SMS and email, which for some feels like we're back to the future. But for other of us, we're going to right now. So Jim, talk to me about how you're thinking about using this.
Well, I think for one, as an example, let's see, like, you know, last week, Phil, you were out speaking. Wouldn't it be great to tell people, hey, if you'd like to get my list of the best way to use Pinterest to shop, text whatever the code is to your number, and now you've got them triggered into your bot. You've captured them. You can also, as they're opting in, get their email. Because the bottom line is this, you know, and we've, you know, it's kind of like you said, back to the future. We've always talked about you want to You own your email list, you own your website. Well, guess what? You also own your contact list, which would be your SMS. So if, you know, Facebook gets upset with you, you can still have your customer list and you can still interact with them. So I think this is huge. I also think we talked a little bit about this. Facebook is doing a lot of things, whether it's overtly or covertly, where you start to wonder, is a company like ManyChat down the road going to be, you know, kicked off by Facebook because Facebook's like, well, you've come up with all these great ideas. We can do it halfway as good as you. And that's good enough for us because we're the big behemoth.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's typical Facebook, right? I mean, it makes a lot of sense to me that they would think this way. I think it's a good move for ManyChat, but it's also prime for the stealing. What do you think, Christian?
I think this is a very good move from their part. I like Jim's perspective as well, that SMS, email, like you own that more so than you do on Facebook. I hear from a lot of businesses and they contact me and they're saying, hey, you know, I did this and like now my account is banned, for example, or I try to post something on my profile and, oh, I can't because now I'm getting a warning, for example, because of a certain type of content they shared and whatnot. And you never really know what's actually causing that. You know, so for example, like there's a whole myriad of things. So now you have to stop what you're doing in your business, and then you have to actually go figure that out. And then by the time you figure it out, you've lost business, you've lost time, you lost money, things that, you know, Phil was mentioning earlier, obviously. So I think this is a good move by ManyChat. You know, are other people going to use it? Yes, heck yes. A lot of other chat products are going to probably incorporate this, but they need to, because again, you need to be driving people back to your website, not just to your social media channels, and expecting them to be able to, you know, then, oh, they made a purchase from me and now they're going to come back and check out my content. Chances are that's probably not going to happen. So,
well, yeah, I think the one challenge to this is remember that we still have to make it frictionless for them to buy.
Right.
So if we can, inside of ManyChat, inside of wherever we are, we need to really think about, as we develop that relevancy, as we develop some trust, as we develop this, not immediately, right? Not immediately, but eventually we need to think about what's an offer. How do we go deeper, right? How do we get more specific with the conversation? I think that's super duper important.
So I'm going to go and play this short video, by the way, while you guys are chatting. This is about a 1 minute video. Let's see what's here. Yeah.
In 2016,
so we got a quick ManyChat announcement here, obviously, with SMS and email marketing. ManyChat's a tool we talk about a fair amount. It's a tool we like.
ROI,
so
and
check this out.
Happier customers. Now we're taking messenger marketing one step further. No more app hopping. No more wasted time. Send a Facebook message or a text or an email without ever leaving FlowBuilder. All of your outreach, one visual interface. Welcome to the new era of marketing. ManyChat.
So I don't know, that's pretty slick to me, I think. I mean, everything is pretty much all self-contained. You're not relying on one platform. Your customers don't have to be going, you know, well, oh, I've got this set up on this app and this on this another one and whatnot. I think that's a brilliant move from ManyChat. Anything you guys want to add on this?
Well, I think they missed an opportunity there. They should have used Back to the Future, should have had a DeLorean in that ad, because this is some cool stuff. I mean, right, because I can see the juxtaposition, because everything old is new again. We have to remember that, right? High touch still wins over high tech. Always, always, always. That's what ManyChat gives us. It gives us a higher touch, a deeper touch, a richer touch. More important, customers want that. So they've been begging for this, right? I know you say, well, customers don't want more marketing. That's a lie. Customers don't want more irrelevant marketing. They want better targeted messaging. If Jim is just talking to me and comes right at my needs and understands my pain, I absolutely want to talk to Jim all day, every day. What I don't want is another irrelevant ad for AARP when I'm only 45 years old, right? That's what I don't want. So we have to, you know, so this is really slick. I love this. My only concern down the road is, do we start abusing SMS like we did email? Do we start abusing Slack channels like we did email? Because remember, right, we're going to the communication of whatever's open. So eventually, right, I really think you want to really go back to the future, call people on the phone. That's what I teach my sales teams to do. You got to pick up the phone, right? And not irrelevant, not just interruption day, but really adding value to that person. Really important. And phone calls, SMS, email, all of these super critical ways.
And don't be, yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
No, I was just saying, and I think that's a great point, Phil, because see, if you have connected with me through SMS, I'm more likely to take that phone call, where if you try to call me first and I don't know you, unless you leave a message and you're relevant, I'm not going to call you back.
That's right. Absolutely. And I'm not going to give you content, right? I'm not going to give you time for content on your dime, right? On your timetable. I don't want an interruption that says, oh, and here's a link. Like, no. But that being said, I think if we stay relevant to that point and we drive some interest and we just use a Tony Hughes term, we combo prospect, we combo conversation, if you will. If we use SMS and phone and email and messenger, I think we have opportunities here to have real conversations. So Christian, I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No worries at all. So the other thing I just wanted to add real quick on this is that you cannot be afraid to use all of the different mediums that are available to you as a business. So you can't just say like, hey, I'm just going to do social because nobody answers their phone. Don't believe all the articles you read that say, hey, 86% of people prefer social media over like phone calls. Like, yes, that might be true for that study, but it's not true necessarily with your customers. So don't be afraid to make that phone call. As Jem mentioned, you also have to make sure you're meeting your customer on their turf. So for example, if I all of a sudden, like cold call you, for example, what's the success with cold calls? Pretty low, And so if I just out of the blue cold call you, that's not necessarily going to have the impact that, oh, hey, I've actually had a previous conversation with you, So if you're warming up your leads and whatnot, whether that's through your content or through your interactions, you can easily then make the phone call without being afraid that, oh, nobody's going to answer the phone. And if somebody doesn't answer the phone, maybe they were busy, for example. So maybe it's then, hey, I need to follow up and make sure that, like I'm reaching out to them when it's convenient for them. So that also shows some common courtesy as well as a business owner, and it shows that you've got follow through. So lots and lots of good stuff there from ManyChat. So Phil, do we have time for one more? Or do we want to move to tool time?
Oh, I think we should move to tool time. We got a hard stop today. Well, I wish we couldn't, but we've got good stuff in the newsletter, folks. Check it out. socialchefs.com/daily. And now it's time for a little tool time. So if you're dancing at home like we do every time we put this screen up, it's time to dance because it's tool time, tool time. It's tool time, tool time. Do the tool time dance, dance, dance. It's time for tool time, tools that you can use to grow your business. Remember, you don't have to use these tools, but we recommend 2 tools every week in hopes that something is going to help your business be more efficient, more effective, and hopefully more profitable. So Christian, you found these tools this week, man. I want you to lead on these. Tell us what you got.
So the first tool is a tool called Filmic Pro. And if anybody so how many of you pre-ordered the new iPhone, for example, the new iPhone 11, iPhone 11 Pro? Okay, so
I've got my hand up.
Okay, so here's the thing. The iPhone 11 Pro and the 11 model has a fantastic camera. I can't wait to get my hands on this. Should have one here shortly, actually. So I'm excited to have this because it's got 3 cameras. They all work sort of independent of one another. Fantastic device. And I don't know if you guys know, but like this app actually has filmed an entire motion picture. So they filmed it on an iPhone. And it is a fantastic app. I recommend it to every single client I work with because basically what it does is it helps you, one, film better quality video content. You get better audio options. It is just an amazing app. It's $15. I'll make sure I got that right. $14. Sorry, $15 with an in-app cinematographer kit purchase for like $14. When I spend money on apps, I like to buy things that are good quality. This app is fantastic. It's not just gonna like, oh, great, I've got a camera on my phone already. This is an app that helps you take it beyond that. You can do color adjustments. You can see, for example, if you open the camera, you don't know if it's, if the white is incorrect, the white balance. So you can automatically change that with this app. It has just so many professional features built into it. Jim, have you used this one before?
I have not used it, but let me tell you what caught my attention about this is like you were talking about with the 11 Pro during the Apple keynote.
Mhm.
They used the 11 Pro with this app specifically, and a film crew actually created a movie where they never left their phone, and the movie shot that they did was just unbelievable, and that sold me on the camera right there, because we all want to get better at what we provide as creators, and if I can do it all from my phone and I don't have to send it off to somebody to do editing, of course.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a skill. I mean, I was just blown away.
Well, and it starts
Wow.
with footage too. You have to start with quality footage. So, for example, if you're not really good at filming, for example, on your phone, practice, for example. And that's basically what every kind of video that you produce is. If you're creating, for example, stories, content, you're practicing there. Like, how do I get the light levels correct, for example? How do I get my audio correct? And this app, it also has what I really like about it is you can actually tap on the screen and you can adjust. For example, you can set the focus. So that way, for example, if you're taking an action shot, you can have it track along. If you want to then say it's a little too dark, it has a balance option as well. So you can change those independently of one another, and I'm not saying like, hey, oh, you need this over the camera app that's on your device. The camera app on your device is great, for example, for, hey, I want some slow motion footage. I want to catch some panoramics. I've got some really good features there, but this actually adds the functionality in that you would normally get on, say, a laptop or a desktop for video production. So definitely an app worth checking out. Phil, have you used this one all?
I haven't, but we talked about the newest iPad or iPhone. I called yesterday to find out about my upgrade. I am waiting for my birthday to get the new phone because my birthday's in December. So if anybody's looking to buy me a phone early, get it before that, or I'll get the new phone then. But I think it's fascinating that a tool like this is going to really help us so much. I mean, it's so interesting to see how far it's come. I remember having to have almost like a mag light on people's faces to get them with the old Blackberries, right? It would be so horrendous. And we prepped for so long. This almost takes the preparation out because now I can shoot, adjust, shoot, adjust, shoot, adjust. It's almost like eyeglasses, right? When we go get our glasses, it's like shoot, adjust, shoot, adjust, shoot, adjust, bang, done. Here we go, move forward, right? And way different, way big time game changer.
Yeah, and you could use it for a couple of other different things. So, for example, if you're going to shoot on, say, a green screen, you're going to shoot on a background, for example, kind of like the one I have behind me here. It's a great, your iPhone is a great device, but when you add these tools, it helps it even more. So keep that in mind. But like I said, $14, $15 app, well worth making the investment in. I've been using it for years, and it is fantastic. So
Awesome.
That is tool number one. Now, tool number two, I'm going to highlight this one. I'm going to give you guys a quick demo on this one. This is called Gifski. And it sounds a little, name sounds a little weird, but basically what it does is you can drop a video into this and automatically create animated GIFs. So like what a lot of people do is, they might say like, oh, hey, I'm going to record my screen. And what happens when you do that a lot of times is, it will slow down your computer. You then have to say, well, oh, how many frames do I need to have? You got to be basically a mathematician to calculate this a lot of times. So what this is, you basically just drop a video in. You can select your start, your endpoints, what the size you want it to be and whatnot. Because again, if you send it on certain platforms, size does matter there. But it is a free app. It's a fantastic, fantastic, fantastic app. And I'm going to actually give you guys a quick demo of this real quick. So it's called Gifski. Have you tried this one out, Jim?
I have not yet. I definitely plan to, though, because now that I'm in the Apple world, and because it's also only available, I believe, on the Mac desktop.
Yeah, it is a Mac desktop app. And I do have this pulled up right now, for example. So you have the show here, and I want to do a little bit of editing on this real quick. So basically, this is last week's show. And so what I could do here, for example, I can quickly trim. I only want that part. Let's say I only want this. I can select my dimensions here from a list of custom drop-down list. I can adjust them as well. So for example, if I want it for, say, Instagram stories or whatnot, I could create something there. Change the frames per second, change the quality, and convert it, and it's all done for me. So super fast and super convenient to be able to have this on your, in this case, your laptop. So that is Gifski. So,
awesome. So is it Gifski or Gifski? Right? How do we pronounce that? Is it like a giraffe or a giraffe? I'm just curious.
not really sure. I'm going to call it Gifski, I think.
Gifski it is. I like Gifski.
I like Gifski. Little Russian,
I like
though.
Gifski.
Might cause controversy.
Yep, I prefer Putin. Thank you very much. And yeah, so I dated her for a while, Gifski. She was pretty cute. And yeah, but I think this is a great tool. It offers a lot of potential here. Makes it way easier to make an animated GIF, or giraffe, whatever it is you're making, which I think is super good. Again, for those of us, I'm looking at me, who have no talent at all when it comes to graphics. This is pretty cool. This is great, right? Because I can film video, and now we can make it cool. So as long as we have Jim in the frame, I got to step out, right? Take off out of this frame. But yeah, good stuff, guys. Really good stuff.
So, I think these are both two fantastic tools. But
yeah,
Phil, I know we're at the top of the hour, but I want to thank everybody who's watched, spent time watching with us this morning. If you want to get the blog post recap, we will have that go out tomorrow. So that'll be episode 210. You can get that by going to socialchefs.com/SC210. That'll get you directly on the blog post. You can see the video and so forth. Jim, what's the best place, by the way, for viewers who want to learn more, connect with you and whatnot? What's the best channel?
Well, I've got my Twitter handle out there. I'm always on Twitter, and also LinkedIn is another great place. You just find my name, Jim Fuhs. I actually, like I know you guys did, I actually edited my URL, so it's not a bunch of numbers.
No, that's good. Fantastic.
And then Fusion Marketing on all the socials as well. So except not Tumblr.
Yeah, you're not Tumblr.
Not
so what about Patreon or Adult Friend Finder? Can we find you there, Jim?
No, not yet. Is that a place I should be, Phil?
I think that's the next frontier. So we'll talk about that off camera, Jim.
Right,
good stuff.
So,
good stuff. Yeah.
Next week, by the way, just a quick rundown on that. We're going to have Rob Belasabas from Thinkific on at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Facebook here at facebook.com/social chefs or youtube.com/social chefs. Phil, anything you want to add? Any parting thoughts?
Well, parting thoughts is, again, we got to give some shout outs to those that got to tune in with us live. If you're listening to this on the replay or you're listening to this on the podcast, which is going to be launching super duper soon, we're super excited that you're here. And we're super excited for our live fans. We got Lisa Monks, George DeManis, we got Ilian Smith. We got lots and lots of great folks here that were cheering us on. We're always excited. Alfredo Tagolo, Scott Ayers, good stuff, right? Really, really nice stuff. So really excited. And Jim, big shout out to you, brother. Thanks for being on, and thanks for being my stand-in last week. You fulfilled your duties, if you will, last week.
Well, it's not easy to step into Phil's shoes, because Phil, and I love your gratitude every morning. I always enjoy seeing that out there on Facebook, and it helps get the day started. So thanks, Christian, brother. always great to be a part of your guys' show. I'd love to come back again if you need me, and we have to get you guys. Maybe we'll do a 4-person show with Tim and Jim and get both of you guys on at the same time. We haven't done the 4 people.
There you go, Tim and Jim and Christian and Phil. Sounds like a party.
Sounds good.
Very cool. Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning in this week. We will see you all next Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye.
See ya. Bye.